Welcome to episode 21 of the Tough Draw Talks podcast. I'm your host, Brad Hughes. Today, we are coming to you from the historic stockyards here in our office. Appreciate you being along for the ride. Today's episode is sponsored by Cavender's. Cavender's is proud to have served the Western community for over 50 years. Shop authentic Western wear at cavenders.com or at a local store near you. Today's podcast is extremely unique, and I'm really excited to discuss the Read a Book, Help a Cowboy campaign with our guest today. The Justin Cowboy Crisis Fund has always been something I've had a lot of admiration for and wanted to get involved with, and I've been really blessed with the opportunity to visit with the woman behind the fundraiser, Miss Shanna Hatfield. Miss Shanna is a USA Today best-selling author. Her passion and love for Western culture pours through in her writing, and her background gives her a very unique perspective. Miss Shanna, I know you're joining me remotely today, and this is the first time we're doing this, but I'm so excited to have you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and I'm very honored to be your first remote experiment. So thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. I think experiment's a good word for it, because we really have had to experiment, haven't we? No, I really appreciate it, Miss Shanna. How's the weather up there today?
It is cold. It looks like winter. Our high today was 26, and it's trying to snow. So
oh, my gosh.
Definitely feeling like winter.
I've been cold, and it's like 48 here, so y'all are much tougher than me. So I don't know how many of the podcasts you've gotten a chance to listen to, but we love to kick things off with just some rapid-fire questions to kind of break the ice and get people to know a little bit about you, right? So what's your favorite food?
Favorite food? Does chocolate count as a food group?
Hey, it can, if that's what you want to count it as.
No, we're beef eaters.
There you go.
Definitely beef eaters. I grew up with that, and so there's nothing quite like a really good steak. So,
yeah.
That and chocolate. Those would be probably two of my favorites.
That's funny you say that, because my wife loves like hamburgers right off the grill, and then she's also a big dark chocolate fan. Dark chocolate.
Yes, that's it. Yep.
So being up there in the north, what's your favorite rodeo to attend?
We love the Pendleton Roundup. It would be the closest to us rodeo, and it's just such a unique and fun event to attend. So
yes, ma'am.
That would definitely be at the top of our list.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I haven't got to make it up there, but man, I'd love to. I know that's a historic one for sure. All right. So, being a filmmaker, I got to ask you, what's your favorite movie?
Oh, gosh. That's like asking who your favorite kid is, right? There's so many. It would be really, really hard for me to just name one.
But the truth is, you always have one, though.
One of my favorites. It's not a Western film, and it's an old one, but I am a hopeless romantic, and so it's Somewhere in Time. And it's just always been one I can watch over and over again.
Very cool. Very cool. So that's one, when you're flipping channels, if you see it, you stop, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That, and I will say Man from Snowy River has been my favorite since I was like 12. So.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. All right. So if you were not an author, what would you be doing?
If I was not an author, I would maybe be doing something graphic design-wise, or I always thought it'd be fun to run a bed and breakfast. I love to bake, and I love to decorate, like home decor kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So those would be my backup plan.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. So this one's always a cool question, because I never know where people are going to take it. And what is the best compliment you've ever received?
What the first thing that pops to mind, several years ago, someone had gotten in touch with me who'd read some of my books, and she was a new mom, and she had postpartum depression really bad.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And she told me that she had been on the verge of like suicidal thoughts, and that my books pulled her back, and that she felt like they had saved her. And to me, there's nothing anyone could say that compared to that to me. It would just touch me so much, and she got the help that she needed and recovered. But to have her say that my books were that big of a help to her was just incredible.
Isn't that crazy? And we'll go into this a little more, but like, the power of your words, the power of story, just the way it can inspire, right? Like that's been one of the coolest things for me about storytelling as well, like from the film side of things,
Sure.
But that's amazing. And I'm sure that, I can hear kind of the emotion in your voice just talking about that. That's so cool. Thank you for sharing that with us. Well,
absolutely.
Like I said, there's a reason why I asked that one, because I love how that just kind of creates a diving point for us from a standpoint of like just feeling good. You just shared something that means something. So let's kind of dive into these topics if we can. Tell me a little bit about yourself. You alluded to your background with the beef and the cattle and stuff like that. Tell me a little bit about your background and where you're from, and how you got into writing.
Okay. I grew up on a farm in Eastern Oregon, and other than rocks and sagebrush, my family grew wheat and hay, and we had beef cattle. When I was really little, we had dairy cattle, but my parents sold them before I actually had to help with them. So all I really ever knew was the beef cattle part of it.
Yes, ma'am.
And I have two older brothers, and they lived nearby with their families. So I had way more supervision as a kid than any child could ever want or need. But it was fun growing up with all that. And my oldest brother was actually, we call it a buckaroo. He worked in the Great Basin area on some ranches that were really remote.
Yes, ma'am.
He would come home every few weeks or few months, just depending on the time of year. And he'd often bring home another buckaroo or cowboy with him who wanted a home-cooked meal, and my mom was a great cook. But anyway, I can remember them sitting around the dining room table after we've all eaten, and they would share these stories that were just amazing. And I think that's what really started my love for capturing that way of life in my stories.
Yeah.
And I've always loved books. My mom was a big reader, and she's the one who got me hooked on reading. And I can remember in the winter when, the farm isn't quite as busy, my dad would binge read whole series of books in the wintertime. And so reading was a big thing in my family, and I love that. And then I love to tell stories. My dad and my oldest brother are both really good at telling stories. So I think all that came together just to give me a love of Western writing. And it wasn't until, it was 11 years ago, I decided to try writing my own book. And my husband was actually the one who pushed me into that. I had read a book, and it was awful. The plot was bad, and it was so poorly written. And I went to him and I said, I cannot believe a publisher actually invested in this book. It's just terrible. And he just turned to me and he says, well, then do better. See what, he threw down this whole gauntlet of
challenge accepted.
So I took it, and I did. So I started writing, and I loved it, and I haven't stopped since. So that's how I kind of got started in it.
That's awesome. Let's, writing a book, writing a script, I'm sure they're a lot different, but, I kind of have my own process of doing things. But for you, we learned a little bit about your inspiration and stuff like that when you come to the Western culture. But what's your process like? How do you draw inspiration? And then, how do you like to write? For me, I'm one of those that, I find inspiration from just something in everyday life, but tying it to, to a dream or to, Western culture or whatever. But then, for me, I love to just sit down and I can cram on pages for hours, right? Are you that kind of writer? Or are you I'm going to write half a page and I'm going to go sit on it? Or what do you do? Tell us a little bit about your process.
Sure. Well, I can be inspired by anything. I mean, literally, I can be in line at the grocery store and hear a conversation. I'm like, oh, that'd make a great scene in a book, kind of thing, or stupid things that happen, I will incorporate into a funny way into books. But I'm a very visual person, so I do a lot of gathering things that I feel like when I'm getting ready to write. I make Pinterest boards for each of my books, and I'll print out pictures that are relevant to the story and keep those right by my computer, because that helps me stay engaged. But when I am in writing mode, it's full on writing mode. To give you an example, I was running just a teeny little bit behind deadline. So a week ago, last Tuesday, so like a week ago Tuesday, I started writing a book, and I had to have it to my editor by Monday. So 6 days to write this book, and I ended up with a 90,000 word book in that
Holy moly
6-day time frame. I mean, it was cranking a little more than I like to do a book. Usually it takes me about 2 to 3 weeks to write a book that size, but I'm not a sit on it forever. I'm like, once I'm in that groove, the characters kind of whisper in my ear, and I'm not someone who spends days plotting. I'm just like, here's where I want it to start, and here's where I want it to end, and you know, it'll work out between point A and point B.
Well, you know, that's really, really cool. I feel like, you know, I have very clear insight on something. I'll write like a couple of scenes, which, like I said, writing a book versus a film script is, I feel like it's a different task because of the intricate details you have to go in when it comes to books, because you're literally painting the visual, whereas you can kind of skip some of that when you're writing a script because it's just like, we'll fix it in production, you know? So, but no, I mean, you were talking about how inspired by the stories around you growing up, and in a very similar way, my grandpa, he was a great storyteller. And I loved listening to him tell me stories or bedtime stories and stuff like that. And he was my linchpin for my tie to Western culture. So, you know, whether it be the campfire stories that you think of or hear, like, let's talk a little bit. I'd love to hear you just kind of explain to me your thoughts on the community and the Western way of life, and how the theme of storytelling and legend kind of goes and is passed on. And you said you're a hopeless romantic too, kind of thing, right? So it's like there's a romanticism about what those campfire stories and stuff like that, and being a part of Western culture. Can you talk a little bit about that and why Western culture, the lifestyle is such, and it's coming back real strong, whether it be because of Yellowstone or, you know, rodeo becoming more popular, or, you know, however you want to spin it, the way our country's going and people are clinging to Western culture or whatever it is. Talk a little bit about just that tie of the community aspect of the Western way of life and how it ties to storytelling in your perspective.
Well, you know, as an author, and especially as a romance author, I have seen so many new books coming out that are cowboy themed, whether it's Old West or modern. Like, that is a thing right now. For me, it's always been my thing. When they move on to vampires or whatever else, I'm still going to be writing the cowboy stories, because that's just part of my background and part of what I love. And as far as the community of it, though, I feel like the whole Western culture just has such deep roots, and that's passed on from one generation to the next, through visual items or through storytelling, or, you know, there's so many different ways to pass that on. But I do feel like it is a rich heritage that community has, and that they do take so much pride in and so much care in preserving it and passing it on. And I think that's really important. I'm happy to see more people embracing that now.
Absolutely.
And I hope that continues. But I feel like at its core, it's always been there, and that's something that will always be there.
Absolutely. And I'm like you, like, you know, whatever they transition into telling next, you know, part of the thing for me too is it's not just Western culture, but I'm also sports. Like, I love sports. And, you know, one of the big films that inspired me to make films was Gladiator. It came out when I was in high school, and it was just, I went and watched that, and I just was like, whoa, like, I want to do that. I want to make movies like that. But then also like Friday Night Lights, and, you know, I'm a sucker for a good sports film, you know, or book or whatever, you know. But let's talk about the Christmas Cowboy in particular. Give us a little bit of backstory about the Christmas Cowboy and the process in writing that, and how your relationship with the Justin Cowboy Crisis Fund came to be.
Oh, sure. So way back, I think it was 2012, my husband and I had gone to the NFR, and we'd flown down, And I think it was Sunday, we were flying home, and we're sitting in the airport, and all I can see every direction I look is like the sea of cowboy hats. And so we're sitting there waiting for our flight, and I started thinking, what would happen if a girl met a cowboy at the airport, like, you know, and they keep running into each other if they had the same hometown or whatever. And so by the time we got home, I'd already started mapping out the characters and, you know, all this stuff. And so when I was actually writing the story, which ended up being about a saddle bronc rider and the girl he meets at an airport, I had questions about, I knew they had Justin sports medicine trailers at a lot of the major rodeos, but my question was, when does the treatment go from there to them going to the hospital? Like, where is that line where they would treat them there, or, you know, send them to where they could get further medical care? And so I actually reached out to the Justin Sports Medicine team and spoke with Rick Foster, and he was so helpful, and he answered all my crazy, weird questions and was just so gracious. And when I hung up with him, I had just learned about the Justin Cowboy Crisis Fund. He shared that with me, and I started thinking about what I could do to say thanks for their help with my book and my questions. And that's when I decided that I wanted to give something back. And so when that book came out, I did 10% of my book sales and donated it to the Justin Cowboy Crisis Fund. And then the next year I added like all my books and a month to it. And so now I call it the Read a Book, Help a Cowboy campaign. And this is the 9th year that I've done it. So basically from October 1st through Christmas Eve, I donate 10% of all my book sales, and that's any format, ebook, digital, paperback, audio, whatever format. I donate 10% of all my sales, the proceeds from it, to the Justin Cowboy Crisis Fund. And I just feel like it's a great thing to be able to give back to them, because I love watching the rodeo, and I think they work so hard, and they inspire a lot of authors, whether they acknowledge it or not. And so I feel like it's just a little way I can give back and say thank you for all that they do.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, to kind of piggyback on what you're saying, like working on a film script, you know, one of the scripts that we have that I hope to make after we finish this documentary is about a bull rider, and just the way the community embraces you is amazing. And I can totally, you know, empathize and understand what you're saying about the way that they just so helpful. Everybody goes out of their way to help you, and it's just amazing. And, you know, for those of y'all that don't know, just a little bit about the Justin Cowboy Crisis Fund. 100% of donations to the Justin Cowboy Crisis Funds go to the cause. Every penny that is put in is able to go towards helping the Cowboys. And Justin Boot Company and the PRCA have made this possible by covering the expenses of managing that fund. You know, just to kind of go along with what you're saying, the mission statement of the Justin Cowboy Crisis Fund is to provide need-based financial assistance to athletes injured through their participation in a professional rodeo. And the cool thing about it is you do not have to be just a PRCA or a WPRA member to receive this assistance. They help, you know, high school rodeo kids. They help some of the other smaller associations and different things like that. They've awarded almost $9.5 million in need-based financial assistance throughout the years. And, you know, Miss Shanna, what you do, that's so admirable and so amazing. And I actually had the privilege of speaking with Miss Julie Jutton with the Crisis Fund. And she describes you as the kind of person that makes the Crisis Fund go. And she notes that your participation is consistent and you participate in many things, not just your fund. What has this experience been like for you personally working with the Justin Cowboy Crisis Fund?
It's just been very rewarding for me. I truly feel like it's an honor to support such a great organization. And like you mentioned, I think it's incredible that every single penny goes right into that donation fund. And I love their little tagline of "It's a hand up, not a hand out." And it's great for me to support it. And honestly, when we go to Vegas, if we make it, I always try and go to the luncheon, the ladies' luncheon that they have that's a fundraiser. And it's so fun. And it's fun for me to contribute to that too. And just, I've met so many great, awesome people at that luncheon. And it's just, I feel like what they do is amazing. And it just helps bring that whole family and tradition thing full circle.
Yes,
that's part of the Western community.
Isn't that, I love what you just said there, because that stood out to me too. Like, isn't that such a visual statement? It's a hand up, not a hand out. Like, you can just see a cowboy in the dirt that needs a hand up, you know, and yes, it's like, it's just been slammed. And, you know, and again, Miss Julie elaborated on that you are one of these people that make this thing go. And so, you know, that's a tip of the hat to you for sure for what you do. And I'm sure all the cowboys that have ever been impacted by this also that hear this, you know, appreciate it as well. So, so you just, you just kind of alluded to it. But she talked about some of the other things you do. She mentioned auctions and different things like this, but, can you elaborate a little bit more? Because eventually, like, you know, throughout this podcast, I'd love for people to see opportunities to get involved with this. And again, you know, you're in a unique position as a writer. You know, for me as a content creator, you know, there might be something at some point I can bring to the table from that perspective. But, you know, just in general, what are some of the other opportunities you've seen or been a part of that you know people can get involved?
Sure. Well, one easy one that I love to do, like I mentioned, is the luncheon does a big auction, and they give away door prizes and whatever. And so it's easy for me to just mail, you know, I usually do a fun Western themed bag full of books, and then some other fun goodies and send to them for that. They also have a general auction during the national finals, and people can donate to that. I have donated to that in the past too. There's lots of these bigger rodeos will have events either during or prior to, I know like Pendleton has a fun golf tournament that raises money for the Crisis Fund. So there's, even if you don't want to just write out a check or whatever, make a straight donation, there's lots of ways to get involved and still contribute.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And by the way, you're mentioning those Christmas kind of bags and themed stuff. And, I actually was on the fortunate recipient end of one of those, and my boys really, really enjoyed. You sent a Steve the Mule book for them to read. So for those of y'all out there that have kids, she also does have Steve the Mule and some kids material. Talk a little bit about your range of writing from adult to kids and kind of the topics and the way you kind of weave, you know, your library, so to speak, of all the things you've written, because you've written so much. It's
fun. My 105th book just came out yesterday.
Oh my gosh.
But I like to change things up. I mean, it keeps things fun for me. I'll do a children's book, or I might do, you know, a historical book set in the 1890s, and then I'll do a contemporary book or whatever. And I think one project that I've been really proud of is a Cowboy Christmas book that I did a few years ago. And part of it is recipes and traditions and decorations, but the part that I'm really excited that I could do were the stories with ranch and especially the rodeo families who had benefited from the Crisis Fund, and just tell their story and tie it into the holidays. It was absolutely just such a fun project for me.
And that book was really cool. That was one of the ones you sent, and that's like a beautiful, perfect kind of, like you said, holiday, but also just like a coffee table, because it's such a pretty book too, you know. But yeah, again, thank you for sending that, and we enjoyed looking through that. Absolutely. So that I could kind of, and the boys were curious. They're like, "Where's more Steve the Mule books?" so you might have to work on that.
Steve might need a sequel.
Yeah, he might. I mean, and if you want some stories, they may can throw some at you, some ideas of what Steve can do next. Now,
awesome.
I really appreciate you deep diving with me on that. And, again, if you don't mind, just to kind of recap in case people click on, further into the podcast, just kind of recap for us what exactly the Read a Book, Help a Cowboy campaign is.
Absolutely. So Read a Book, Help a Cowboy is in its 9th year. And from October 1st through December 24th, any book they purchase that I have written, and that can be an ebook, a paperback, hardcover, the children's books count. I mean, any book I have written, even audiobooks. If they're really into Kindle and do Kindle Unlimited, even the pages read in awesome. Kindle Unlimited count. So any book purchase from October 1st through December 24th, I donate 10% of the proceeds from that book purchase to the Justin Cowboy Crisis Fund.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And again, like I say, tip of the cap to you. And I know that so many people have been touched and affected by that. To go along with that, we do have some fan submitted questions that I want to toss at you. So Stacy asks, which you might have kind of answered this, and I don't know if you have an answer, but when is your next book coming out? Sounds like your last book came out yesterday, so when is the next one coming?
The next one is due to come out December 1st.
Oh my gosh, you don't waste any time, do you?
And then I have the one I was frantically writing last week.
Oh.
If all goes well, it'll be out before Christmas too. They're both Christmas books. So.
Oh my gosh, you are putting them out. All right. And Easton, my 9-year-old wants to know, any more children's books in the works?
I have an idea for a children's book. I just haven't had time to work on it. But it is, if I get it done, it will be another one set in Pendleton.
Heck yeah.
About a lamb named Butter.
Oh, okay. All right. That's a nice little preview there. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right. This one comes from, well, no name. With your years working with the JCCF, what's one of your favorite stories you've heard come from your donations? Or just the fun in general, because they probably don't specify what money goes where.
Right. Well, I will say, so I do this thing, and actually yesterday was the day that I do this thing. So during my campaign, I host a big party on Facebook, just as kind of a kickoff and to really drive awareness of the Crisis Fund. And I usually have a bunch of guest authors come in. They'll do prizes and giveaways. And so yesterday we did this whole day-long party that had hundreds of people commenting. And the fun thing for me is when people tell me, I've never heard of this, but I'm going to the website now to donate. Yeah. And so to me, that's just an awesome thing to be able to
absolutely
to share the awareness and get other people thinking in terms of, hey, this is a great thing. I should donate to it.
Absolutely. So Cinnamon asks, how can I get involved with the Justin Cowboy Crisis Fund?
I think making a donation is great, but if you can come up with some kind of an event that gets lots of people involved and just helps raises that awareness. And I mean, it doesn't have to be a rodeo event. Like, I'm an author and I'm trying to raise money for them. So I don't think it matters who you are or what your background is. It's just if you want to get involved, there's a way to do that. And talking to Julie, who is absolutely fantastic, would be a good place to start if that's something they wanted to do was talk about a fundraiser. Absolutely.
No. And again, thank you so much. That's all the fan questions that we had submitted. But Miss Shanna, is there anything else you would like to say to our audience or your audience or rodeo audiences in general?
Just to the rodeo audience, thank you for giving us so many hours of fantastic, wonderful entertainment and inspiration for my books. To anyone that's thinking about the JCCF, I would heartily encourage them to support it. It is an outstanding organization, and I can't say enough good things about them. So,
absolutely.
And to my readers, thank you for supporting it and supporting me.
Absolutely. So, okay, this wasn't asked by the fans, but I'll toss that out there because somebody might want to know this. How do you get involved in writing?
Well, for me, it's kind of a funny story. I'll talk fast.
You're good.
I decided to write a book, and I wrote it, and then I sent out, I was trying to sell it to an agent or a publisher, and I got back 63 rejection letters. Many of them were encouraging, but at that time, Twilight and vampires were the thing, and no one was interested in a cowboy story. Yeah. So I kind of kicked around some ideas, and I was talking to a friend, and she's all, I'll introduce you to my friend. She's an author. Well, she's a very well-known author, and Jane Kirkpatrick.
Okay.
So she told me to look into self-publishing, and I did. And
there you go. I
researched it, dove into research for 2 weeks. That's all I focused on was researching, and at the end of those 2 weeks, I'm like, okay, I can do this.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's what I did for my first books. I actually but one of my books are self-published. The Cowboy Christmas is traditionally published.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Miss Shanna, one more time, I really, really appreciate you being a part of this. I enjoyed this a lot. This was kind of an outside the box one. What's funny, you were my first remote one, and it's kind of funny because we went through a clean feed. You just started kind of glitching just on that last question, but we're all good. We got it.
I know. We're all good. Yay. Well, I am so grateful to you for giving me this opportunity. It's an honor to be here with you. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And just one more time, where can people find your books to participate, or do you have social media? Are you active on social media? What are the ways some of the people can follow you?
Absolutely. My books are all on Amazon. You can also find them Barnes & Noble, Apple, Kobo, the audiobooks, Audible, Chirp.
Perfect.
You can even find my books on Walmart and Target websites.
Nice.
They aren't in the store, but you can find them there. You can also go to your local bookstore and ask them to order the paperbacks in if you want paperbacks, or the children's books.
Perfect.
You can order them from any bookstore.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And just remember, everyone, to participate in the Justin Cowboy Crisis Fund, please make sure and visit www.justincowboycrisisfund.org for more information on how you can get involved with this great organization that provides cowboys assistance when it's needed most. Again, it's a hand up, not a handout. And please follow along with us on social media at Tough Draw and at Tough Draw Talks for more episodes of our podcast as we continue to bring y'all closer to the rodeo community. Until next time, everyone, enjoy the ride.